Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday morning. Unless, of course, you're not in the United States and you're in Europe, in which case it would be good afternoon, everybody. But for most of us, it's good morning. Or if you're in Australia, it's really early or really late, depending on how you want to case it.
And good morning to everybody on Facebook. So we're live there as well. So good to see you guys.
And I always forget to do this. My name is Andrew Bain. I'm the principal horn of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. Just for those of you who are wondering who is yelling at you at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's me. So it's always great to see you. Please let us know where you're coming in from, and keep those cameras on if you can. Even if you look like Jacob Wilder, you can have your camera on. Hi, Jake. Amazing. If you ever get a chance to check out Jacob Wilder's Instagram, he is incredible with woodworking. He's making some amazing stuff and some very cool videos. So check that out. Jacob is the principal horn of the Virginia Symphony. There you go. There you go, Jacob. I keep eagerly going to my letterbox waiting for my arrival of my cutting board, but it hasn't arrived yet, Jacob. You need to send me your catalogue. Yeah. So, good morning and welcome to, sadly, the final warm-up session of this particular season. But we have plenty of videos online, plenty of videos on YouTube that you can, relive the past sessions. We had a great session last week with Tim Jones and Jonathan Maloney from the LSO. The week before, Gail Williams was back with us, and before that we had Elise Lazon, our new fourth horn in the laphil. So we've been covering a lot of stuff, and I thought in today's session we would just move back to, fundamental things, and just to remind ourselves of what we want to be thinking about when we're warming up and why we warm up, and then just what I sort of do and what my routine is. So if the idea of being stuck looking at me only for the next hour is a little too much for you, see you next time. But we're going to move this along pretty quickly today, and I want to do a lot of playing because I think that's, it's good to apply these ideas. So the first thing that we want to think about is like, what are we trying to build? We want to make sure that we're thinking about the simple components of what is making sound and how we can set that up for our day. So for me, first thing, how am I breathing? Next thing, how am I blowing? Next thing, is my setup okay? And the last thing is my tongue just cutting the airstream when I'm articulating? So I want to build those things up and in a pretty simple way. So for me, early on in the warm-up session or in my day, it's very simple. Really, really simple. I don't like, being too complex too early, because it puts too much strain on my brain to think about the things I want to set up. So, to begin with, 2 fingers. And the idea of this is just to feel where the expansion happens, feel where your body naturally wants to pull the air into your body. For me, it's the bottom of my ribs, all the way around, so even into the front. Really nice, open, feeling that nice expansion. I don't want too much topping up into my chest. I want to fill up as if I'm filling up a bottle of water. It fills up from the bottom. Very simple. Next thing, release that airstream onto my fingers. So I'm going to move my fingers 2 inches in front of my face and just dump that air. And what I feel when I do that, and this is what I want to apply to my playing, is I feel my stomach engage as I exhale, and this nice open feeling through my chest. So I feel the expansion on the way in, and then this activity, engagement on the way out, and nice and open through my torso. Really, really simple. Next step for me, grab the back of the mouthpiece. If you've got a straw, I can highly recommend McDonald's thick shake straws. Very good, perfect size. But if you don't have one of them, actually, 2 seconds. This is a straw from IKEA. It's a little larger than a normal drinking straw, but we can do the same exercise through the straw. We're just feeling a little bit of resistance. I like all the straws that I'm seeing. This is very cool. Awesome. And then move that to the mouthpiece. If you don't have a straw, just go straight to the mouthpiece. So the same feeling, I'm just trying to replicate the same feeling. And we're working with the resistance. We're not trying to force the same air that you can onto your fingers into the mouthpiece. It's the same feeling in your body. That's what I'm going for. And then from there, we can actually keep with the mouthpiece and we can just buzz. So this is on one of the early pages. I don't know which page it is. It's on page 3 of the packet. And there's a bunch of, in the packet, there's a bunch of buzzing exercises. I only really do one of these each session. I don't go through all of the buzzing because I've got a very short attention span. And it can take a long time. So again, we're just trying to build up this simple mechanism. So what I'm focusing on when I'm doing the buzzing exercise, and we'll do the first one of these, is just moving the airstream and creating the same feeling that I have when I'm engaging this air. So I've no idea what pitch I started on, but we'll go with that. So as we go lower, we want to feel as though we're increasing the airflow, but be really conscious of your intake of air, what that feels like. Make sure it matches up with what we had when we were breathing through our fingers. And then the engagement and the release as we're buzzing. I see Sally has a burp. That's awesome. Burps are perfect for this as well. If you like holding the horn at the same time as doing this one, grab yourself a burp. You can pick one up Amazon for probably about $20. Yeah, very, very handy. You see a lot of people with those attached to the horn in rehearsals and things like that. So it's a good idea. Keep going down. And if you can see Matt Boatwright, Gail Williams talked about doing buzzing with a pipe on the end. I had one here, but I've lost it. That's good. You can also do it on the end of a straw. Attach your straw. This provides a little bit more resistance. Again, with all of these things, experiment with what works for you. But keep coming back to the basics, back to your fundamentals of how am I breathing, how am I blowing, and how am I engaging my airstream on my exhale. Really, really important, and just to keep it simple. So for me, my mechanism, the 3 fundamentals of my mechanism: is it simple? Is it natural? Is it what my body wants to do? And is it going to be repeatable? Am I going to be able to do this when I'm under pressure, when I'm under stress, or when I'm not feeling so great? And that's why I want to build up the mechanism from the breathing, from the big muscles. If my big muscles can be set up right, everything else is going to be pretty straight ahead. All right, so if we jump to page 7, I'll give you 2 seconds. So now we're going to apply it to the horn. So again, we're focusing on our breathing and blowing. No tongue to begin with in this one. And we're just going to do 4 notes, starting on a concert B flat, just releasing that airstream into the horn. Important that you're not, we want to make a nice sound, but we're not going to be judging that sound. What we want to be judging to begin with is how we're setting our mechanism up. Are we breathing well? Are we releasing the air? And then the sound will take care of itself. So we'll start on concert B flat. So 4 notes without articulation, and then 4 notes with articulation, same airstream. continue with this one, but I just wanted to point out, so for me, I feel a little shaky. We played Mahler 7 all weekend here in Los Angeles. Had a lot of fun, but it's pretty tiring. And first thing in the morning, things don't feel so great. They don't feel so stable. I feel a little shaky. I don't know if anyone else feels shaky early in the morning. That's no problem. That's just your muscles sort of learning to realign themselves and get organized. So that's why it's important to place your emphasis on the things that are going to make you consistent later in the day. So how am I breathing? How am I blowing? Muscles will deal with it. The little muscles will get warmed up and then they'll be fine. So let's go down a half step. Great. So that by design, this exercise is really simple so that we can be focusing on how am I breathing, how am I blowing? And if you can get to the end of all 8 and be certain that, yes, I breathed really well and I blew and engaged really well, chances are that the sound will be improving and it'll be really stable and that you're setting yourself up in the right way. If you're not sure how you're breathing, not so good, right? Yeah, if you're not sure how you're breathing, then you're just leaving it to chance. And we have to remember your brain will, under pressure, will do what it does the most in your practice. So if in your practice you're confident that you're breathing really well and you're checking in on that regularly, that's the habit that you're going to build. That's what's going to come out when you're under pressure. If you're not sure, if you breathe shallow but you're not even aware of it, you're building in that as a habit. And how many people in the room, when you get into a concert, feel like, oh, I breathe really shallow and I feel really tense when I'm playing, when I'm nervous? Yeah. And that's probably because we're not setting ourselves up in the best way to begin with. So we can take time with these simple exercises early in the routine to build these habits. Okay. Poo exercise is on page 8. Poo exercise is one that I really like because it gives me a little bit more focus. On days where I'm coming in after doing a lot of playing the day before and I feel a little bit spread and a bit, not really organized, it helps me to bring in this focus of sound. So what I want to do with this exercise is start with my lips together and I'm just blowing my lips apart. And each iteration of this exercise is slightly longer and slightly louder, and I play 8 of them. And then the 9th one, I add the articulation. Same airstream, same setup. I just want to train my tongue that it's not the important part of my beginning of notes. The airstream is the thing that we're going to get going. So we'll keep going down. Let's start on a, what do you say, concert G. Half step. that one obviously you can take down as low as you like. I don't tend, for me at the beginning of the warm-up, I don't tend to do much high stuff. I'm trying to work from sort of the middle, low register down, because again, I don't want to put too much strain on my mechanism. I want to give my brain a chance to think about the fundamental things that I want to put in place. How am I breathing? How am I blowing? And how's my setup going? Another one to help with that is if you want to just do that one on the mouthpiece without buzzing and get the feeling of these of your lips being blown apart. So start with your lips touching together. And I don't know if the mic picks this up, but it's like blowing a kiss, really. We really feel that separation, that the air is making the separation. Because remember, for us to make a buzz, what is a buzz? It's just your lips flapping in the breeze. That's all that it is, right? So we just need to make sure that inside the mouthpiece is as relaxed as we can make it, and that the airstream blowing past that is what's going to give us the buzz. So then, so that we're really focusing on moving that air past your lips, not trying to create a buzz, not trying to have any tension or squeeze or anything inside the mouthpiece. Okay, any questions? Put your questions in the chat, and if I miss anything, Dana and Sammy will yell at me. No, they won't. They'll just help me. Yeah, and put in the chat when you start your warm up. What do you do? What's the first exercise that you like to do? We've had a lot of, over the time that we've been doing the warm ups, we've had a lot of different ideas. So it's good to experiment with, you know, how you start your day and what are you thinking about. It's easy. I remember when I was a student, I would just pick up the horn and I would just start noodling around and playing anything, and I didn't have really much thought process about what I wanted to do. Now it's all about, for me, setting up my fundamentals every day and reminding my brain what habit am I wanting to build, so that when I play Mahler 7, it's automatic. All right. So now we start adding more articulation. Now that we've got the airstream set up, again, we're not going to be moving around the horn too much too early in the process, but what we're now adding is the tongue. So we want to make sure that we're using our air to start the notes, and the air is the foundation of what we're doing. And now we're going to start coordinating our tongue and cutting that airstream. So the idea for me is, when I'm thinking about articulation, is the articulation actually comes from my stomach, and the tongue just coordinates with that to create that point of the articulation. So the next pattern is the repeated note pattern on page 9. So what we're effectively doing is playing a bunch of long tones, and we're just chopping it up into different rhythms. So the tongue is just cutting through the airstream, but the airstream stays really constant. And we'll start on a horn middle C, so a concert F. Okay, so let me give you a few examples of what I'm not looking for in my own warm-up session, or when I hear my students do this. This is not what I want. What is happening is my tongue is moving way too much and is way too involved in the process of starting the note. My airstream is traveling like a bunch of dinner rolls for each note, and I'm tapering the beginning and the end, and I get this big twar in the middle and this big bulge in the middle. I do not want that, because it means that if I'm playing faster stuff later on, if I'm moving around the horn, I've got all of this interruption of the tongue and my airstream isn't supported. And so I'm going to be relying on my face. It takes an enormous amount of effort for my little muscles in my lips to be able to control that. and it's not what we want. So what I want is really straight, simple airstream, and just the tongue just flicking and cutting through that. I thought that was a pretty good interpretation of some pretty dodgy playing. All right, we're going to go down a half step. Okay, so to back this one back, if things aren't sounding so good, if you're not feeling so great, if the articulation is not clear, it's always important for us to remember that there are three really basic elements in sound production. If anyone can put them in the chat real quick, it'd be great. First one, of course, is air, right? See where I'm going with this? Air. Next one is the vibrating surface, the lips, and the third thing is tongue. Right? Three things, really simple. The title of this session is The Fundamentals, so this is pretty fundamental. Those three things. So whenever we have a chance to take out either the lips or the tongue, it gives our brain more chance to focus on the other elements. Obviously, if we eliminate air from this process, then we're just sitting here doing nothing because we're not going to make any sound. So in this exercise, I want to take out the lips, my need to make a sound, and I can use, again, the back of the mouthpiece and just feeling what is going on with my tongue. So let's do this pattern just through the back of the mouthpiece to feel how we're moving the air and how that's coordinating with the tongue. And it really helps us to get everything in the right place and takes that stress of, like, I've got to make a good sound, I've got to produce something, it's got to sound, you know, the right pitch, and it's got to be stable. So once we've got that feeling, we just simply apply that to the horn. If you do the whole drill through the back of the mouthpiece, you're probably going to end up on the floor. It's probably going to give you a bit of head spins, so just be a little careful. Also, that blowing through the mouthpiece is a really good test of how clean your mouthpiece is. So it's good incentive, right? So let's do concert E flat. Same feeling, just putting that airstream through the horn. So did anyone else find that their sound is fuller after we blew through the mouthpiece and everything is much simpler? Yeah, I find this too. I think it's a really good idea for us to keep going back to these fundamentals, keep going back to the basic. Whenever something is not 100% right, eliminate either your lips or your tongue from the process. And this is something that we're going to talk about in our 5-day challenge coming up. 5-day challenge, 11th to the 15th of April. It's free. You just have to register and get the link. And we will send you out a packet for that, or there'll be a packet in the session. And we're going to talk about how we can play any excerpt, any piece, how we learn, how we're going to break it down, and how we can build it up to perform it at a super high level. It's a really, really simple process that you're going to learn over 5 days. How we can go from the basic building blocks, which is this session. So how can we go from the simplest possible things, how we apply that to any excerpt you like, and expand that excerpt not only from a physical standpoint, but how do we build it musically, and then how do we mentally be able to build that excerpt and then present it in performance. And that's what we're going to cover in 5 days. Really, really simple, and it's a thing that you can apply to anything that you play. So we're really excited to be able to present this to everybody. We hope that you can make time. If you register, obviously you're going to be able to, the same as in the warm-up sessions, you're going to be able to get the recordings of the sessions. But to actually do the challenge, you're going to have to come into the Zoom room, and you're going to have to be able to, interact with us. And then we're going to have the following week, after we've done that session, after you've got all the tools to do this, then we're going to actually, you're going to present to us some video, hopefully, and show us the success of how that process works. So sign up for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, so we talked about the elements of air, lips, and tongue. Now what I want to do is take the tongue out of the process in my warm-up and just start moving the range. So up to this point, everything's been static. Now we want to move through the range. So no tongue. We're going to move to the glissando exercise. So this is on page 10. And this is just, so we're now just using air and lips. The idea of this is we play a quarter note straight, quarter note glissando. Quarter note straight, quarter note glissando. And we're focusing on, again, going back to big muscles, moving the air, increasing the airflow as we go through the glissando. So really, really simple. And this is on the B flat side of the horn, or you can start higher if you want to start, you can start higher, start lower, wherever feels comfortable. There was a question actually about F horn and B flat horn. I'll get to that in a second. But so as we get lower in this one, it's really important that you focus on having good stability in your setup. And we don't just go floppy as we go into the low register. And we're going to reinforce an exercise that we've done actually quite a few weeks in this particular group of warm-up sessions in this register to build strength. But we want to feel this engagement, particularly on your bottom lip and into your chin, that this is really stable and engaged and coming to the middle. And as we go down, we want this feeling of like we're just opening a matchbox. For those people old enough to know what a matchbox is. Opening the matchbox as we go down and keeping everything nice and stable. We don't want to go floppy as we go into the low register. We'll be able to make sound if we go floppy, but unfortunately you're not going to be able to do much with it. And also you won't be able to move out of that range. So we want to make sure the same setup as we go through the range. Now another half step down. Okay, cool. Any questions, put them in the chat. There was a question about F and B flat horn. Yeah, so I like to do a mix. I find if I'm doing the initial breathing and blowing stuff right at the beginning, I tend to use the B flat horn because it just responds a little quicker and it's a little simpler. But as I get going with things and I'm starting to really start to feel a little bit more relaxed and more warmed up, then I'll use F horn. I use both horns. Similar to Tim Jones, actually, in the orchestra, I almost exclusively use the B flat horn. There are some exceptions to that, but I'd probably say 90% of the time I'm on the B flat horn. But I would probably do probably 50-50 on F horn and B flat horn in the warm up. F horn is really good for warming up because it's a longer horn and it forces you to to move the air a little bit more engaged. But again, with all of these things, you guys have got, out of this warm-up session, you've got so many different ideas and so many different drills. Experiment with them and put together your own mix. I would just make sure that, and again, this is why I wanted to do this session today, because I wanted to make sure we cover, what are the fundamentals that we're thinking about. So what in your warm-up or in your routine, and this is where warm-up and routine become a little merged. So, what is a warm-up? What is a routine? We can probably make an argument in many different ways. How long should it be? That's another question. But you want to make sure that you're covering everything. Have you covered loud playing? Have you covered soft playing? Have you covered high range, low range, flexibility, moving through the range, coordination? So if you think about, we've got the three things: air, lips, tongue. Have I covered getting that organized? And then coordination and movement are the other two things that we want to think about in sound production. Have I covered all of those things? And then am I capable of getting all the way through the range? Always important things to think about. All right, let's move on to a little bit of stamp. This is number 12. So we've done quite a bit of loud stuff, and it's good to balance that out with some softer things. So the stamp routine is a trumpet book, but it applies perfectly to the horn. And this one I do almost exclusively on the F horn. So this is the first time where I'm starting to move a little up in the range, and we'll try it. Cool. So thank you to all those people who filled out our Google form for suggestions for the challenge. This is really helpful for us when we put projects like this together for you, to make sure that we're actually doing stuff that you're interested in doing. I think the challenge that I'm putting together based on those responses is going to be really helpful for everybody, and something that you can apply to when you have a new piece to learn, when you have a recital coming up, or if you have an audition, or if you're just playing in the orchestra. How can you have a plan for actually attacking all these tricky things that we have to face? So that last exercise, if we think of the air, lips, tongue, movement, coordination, okay, that one is designed, okay, obviously everything has air, lips, yes. Movement, this is where we're starting to get more movement up and down, right? No tongue, really. You can maybe articulate the first note. And no real coordination. I like that. I don't have to move my fingers. Because once we add coordination with your fingers, we make things more complicated. So early in the session, if we're thinking about how we build our simple mechanism and build our fundamentals, steer away from too much coordination. Of those 5 things, you don't want to put all 5 of them in too early in the process. At least that's what I am aiming to do. Okay, so I promise we'll do the low register builder, because this is awesome. I love the low stopping one and the Marquinhos one. You won't find this in the packet because it's so simple. So we're going to start on a horn G, so concert C, and so we're going to play one note open, and then we're going to have a semitone lower fingering and play it stopped. The other way to do this, if you're a trumpet player, trombone player, tuba player, euphonium player, play the next note flutter tongue. So play one note straight, one note flutter tongue. Or practice mute, yep, that's good too. Practice mute is good. Truth be told, I actually left all of my practice mutes at work because Elise, our new 4th horn player, wanted to try out a whole bunch of different practice mutes for the Mahler. So I've got about 5, not practice mutes, sorry, stopping mutes. So she's got all of my stopping mutes. She stole them. And then for the echo section in the second movement, Ethan stole my new practice mute. So I've basically got nothing now. It's like I'm just left with my hand. So that's okay. Let's try that. Okay, little tip with hand stopping for all of the horn players. I used to think hand stopping was just like shove my hand in the bell as far as it could until it blocked up, like a I don't know, whatever, something that blocks something up, and then that's going to be, then I'm going to be fine. If I do that, it's very unstable and not very secure. What I'm thinking of doing is from this part of my hand around to this part of my hand, I'm thinking of as a suction cup. And I actually just make sure that I'm creating that seal. I'm thinking of trying to make a seal in the bell. So actually, the only contact point, I'm only contacting the bell up to my second knuckle. Up to there. And then everything is sealing from there. So experiment with that, taking your hand a little further out of the bell when you're stopping, and see how that goes. So the other drill with this one is we go back to G, concert C, and then we put the fingering of a semitone higher. This works for any brass instrument. Semitone higher and bend the note back down. So. And it doesn't sound great, but what you find is that it really teaches your muscles to be nice and stable, and it gives you great strength in that register. So muck around with those ones. All right. Any questions, put them in the chat. Just a reminder, a lot of, well actually all of the warm-up sessions from our past are on the YouTube channel, Invested Musician. The previous challenge and the previous, free sessions that we've done also there. There's a lot of performances. There's some nice video of that I shot at Colburn performing Laudatio, and the Till Eulenspiegel encore by Eric Terwilliger. Some other stuff if you want to check that out. And then check out the Invested Musician website. We're starting a summer program to work with people who want to improve their playing and really bring your musicianship, your technique, your business side, freelancing, teaching, all of those things to another level. And we're excited to be working with a whole bunch of people who have already signed up, and we hope that there'll be some more that will join us. It starts at the beginning of June, early in June. We're starting. It's a 12-week program. Lots of playing, lots of interaction, individual lessons with me, and other members of the laphil are also popping by to work in the group sessions. And Rupal teaches a whole bunch of stuff about business and marketing yourself and all these really cool things that as musicians today we really need to make sure that we take care of. Okay. Repeated note scales. So now that we have done a little bit of movement and we've sort of moved through the range a little bit, now we're going to start working on the coordination. But I don't want to start doing like crazy scales or, arpeggios over a huge amount of range. I want to start it pretty simply. So the repeated note scale pattern on page 15 of the packet is a really simple one, and this is one that I picked up from my college teacher, Patrick Brisland, when I was an undergraduate. It's a great exercise. And really, really simple. So the idea is that our airstream is continuous all the way through this exercise. We're just moving over a 1-octave scale, and we're gradually increasing the speed in which the tongue is cutting the airstream. So I'll give you a demo here. This is where I get to play F sharp major eventually. And real quick, let's go back to the mouthpiece on this one. So thinking about as we go higher, we need to speed the air up, right? Faster air is going to create faster vibration. Faster vibration creates higher notes. Pretty simple, but good for us to keep in mind that it's not our face that's doing the work, it's the air speed that's doing the work, and that's what's going to get us through the range. So really feeling that engagement with your stomach. Tongue is just cutting the air. You're going to need to breathe multiple times during this one. That's fine. If you're blowing through the mouthpiece, you won't when you play it on the instrument. So we'll try that one again. Awesome. Airspeed as you go higher, air volume as you go lower. Increase the amount of air as you open up as you descend. Going down a half step, and now we're doing in triplets. Great. Great to see so many faces on the video. You guys all look great. The filter's working. It even gave Austin a haircut. That's amazing. It's very cool. I like it. All right. Thanks, Austin. Now we go to, as Tim Jones would say, semiquavers, or for the rest of us, 16th notes. Awesome. So again, there are many schools of thought with tongue position, and we discuss this at length and do a lot of work with people when we're in the program, and over the summer program we're going to be doing a lot of stuff on articulation. My thought with articulation is I want the tongue to be hitting the same spot all the way through the range, because this ties in with my fundamental basis, which is the airstream runs the show. So the tongue is just going to be cutting the same point, hitting the same point and flicking through that airstream. If I want to go into the high register, I'm going to move the air faster. I'm going to engage more with my airstream. That's my thought. There are many different thoughts on articulation. It just happens that mine is the right one. No, just kidding. Everyone needs to experiment with what works for you. And but we explain. We spend a lot of time in the program explaining why we put the tongue where we put it, and how it operates and how it can help you. And I think anyone who's been through that process, who's worked with us, the Invested Musician, worked with me, understands what we're doing and understands how it can be really beneficial for consistency of sound and ease of playing. We're going to go down another half step, back to eighth notes. Wasn't so great. It must be I'm getting closer to F sharp, so I'm feeling more nervous. That's what it is. All right, here it is. Wish me luck. Okay, so this is a good reminder. And I think someone put this in the chat. It's really important we don't do the same stuff every day, because you're not going to improve. Barry Tuckwell, very famous Australian, very famous horn player, basically said, look, if you're not improving, you're getting worse. There is no such thing as sort of maintaining, right? So what we need to do every day is try and expand what you're doing in your warm-up sessions. Sure, to begin with, we want to do basic things so your brain can focus on resetting your mechanism and the fundamental things. As we get on through the warm-up, we want to create a little bit of uncomfortableness. That's not even a word. Discomfort. Thank you, Andrew. Very good. So for example, if these exercises, if the scale pattern is like you're just doing it mindlessly, not helpful. It's not going to help you, because what you're going to do is you're going to fall into bad habits. You're going to fall into these old habits, and you're not going to be engaged. So how do we change that? Well, this is what we're going to talk about a lot in the challenge and describe it. But for today, what I want to think about is maybe we're going to go back to the beginning, go back to our concert F, and we're going to change the rhythm. Try that. Okay, now be honest, was that a little bit more difficult? Just a tiny bit more difficult? Made you think a little bit more focused. So this is how your brain is going to build these habits stronger. We don't want to do anything crazy. We don't want to, because then your brain will just throw everything out and say, okay, I'm not interested. This is too hard. But if we just put a little bit more pressure, a little bit more difficulty, then it's going to build strength in this mechanism. So we're going to go up, and we're going to keep the triplets and keep this alterated rhythm. Okay. So for me, that feels like I'm, rubbing my tummy and patting my head a little bit. Like it just creates a little bit more discomfort, and I've got to really sort of hone in on what I'm doing a little bit more, and it's going to build strength in that mechanism. So it's just a really helpful way of sort of approaching our routine and just mixing things up, and we can do this with familiar pieces too. If you're coming back to a piece that you played a long time ago and you want to freshen it up, change the rhythms, change the articulations, and practice it that way. Make it a little bit more uncomfortable for yourself, and so then when you go back to playing the normal rhythms and normal articulations, it's going to feel a lot easier. Good morning, Jerry Folsom. We are great to see you. Jerry Folsom is a predecessor of mine at the laphil, former principal horn of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and it's great to see Jerry. I saw Jerry in San Diego last summer. We had a little catch up in a dodgy Mexican restaurant, wasn't it, Jerry? Cool, great to see you. All right, so descending chromatics. I like to sort of go up and down through the registers, and as you guys know, I spend a lot of time in the low register because I'm not very good at it, and I spend most of my playing time in the high register, so I want to get balance. So descending chromatics is one, again, we're building coordination, and then we're building this mechanism of articulation and strength in this low register. So this is one that we've done many times in these sessions, but it's worth just reiterating. So the first time I play this legato, and pretty soft, just to make sure I've got my airstream moving nice and simple. Then flutter tongue. If you cannot flutter tongue, do it with a practice mute, or you can do it stopped, same effect. And then I do it huffed, and this is where we're really focusing on the engagement of our stomach to instigate the articulation. So we can make articulation from the airstream as well as this continuous airstream line that we have to support the sound. And then the last iteration of this is we add the articulation. So this is on page 20. It's descending chromatics. Okay, here we go. It's not supposed to sound pretty, that one. And then now with articulation from your stomach. And then we combine that articulation from your stomach just with the flicking of your tongue. Cool. And that one you can take down, you can take up higher. That's basically the pattern that I use for that one. And to give this good flexibility in the diaphragm. Okay, so we're going to sort of jump towards the end. I mean, again, with routine and warm up, it can be as long or as short as you like. And I tend to, if I'm not doing a lot of playing in the orchestra, so like this week, I'll be doing more practice stuff because we're doing a Mozart mass. So there's not a lot of stuff for me to play. I'm not going to be too stressed. So I'll take more time on my routine. I'll go through more of the routine, and I'll do more work on etudes. And a more expansive routine. On days where I just need to warm up and get going, we're doing like a Mahler symphony, then the routine will probably be a little shorter. So this is something that I like to do later on in the routine. It's combining all of the factors that we talked about. So air, lips, tongue, coordination, and movement. And the coordination this time is with the tongue as we move through the range. No fingers on this one. This is Hector number 2 on page 25. So first one, smooth and legato. Second one is staccato, but we need to make sure that the airstream stays consistent. Give it a go. Hi, Rachel Nierenberg. It's lovely to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Nice to see you. Great.
So nice to see you, Andrew. Hi.
Yeah, hi. Rachel was a student at Colburn. I can't even remember how long ago. 5 years ago? Is that right? Have I got that right?
Feels like 5 years ago. It's a pandemic.
Yeah. Everything feels like 5 years ago, right? Yeah. Great. All right, so we keep going down to E flat. Awesome. Okay, so there's a lot more in the packet. There are a lot more exercises. Obviously, there's a bunch of flexibility stuff, combinations of articulation and finger work. I just encourage you to have a look at those things. The ones that you like, pull out and steal. Put in your own routine. The ones that you don't like, put them on the side and then maybe plug one of them in each couple of days. But keep a lot of variety and make sure that you're covering all of the elements that you need in your warm-up. But for me, what's really important is start slowly. Give your brain a chance to reset from the day before and set up the mechanism that you want to each day that's going to help you when you're under pressure. So for me, I just, again, keep in mind, how am I breathing? How am I blowing? Is my setup how I want it? Am I organized in my face? And is my tongue just cutting the airstream or is it interrupting? If I can get through those 4 things and I'm happy with how that's working and I sound bad, I've got big problems, right? But basically, most of the problems that we have as brass players get covered by those 4 little checkpoints. Okay, so there's only one thing left to do, and it's going to require you guys to unmute yourselves in a second because it's the most exciting part of any warm-up session group. But don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. So we're going to do the elephant. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the elephant and you've been living under a rock for the last 2 years, that's fine, no worries. I will demonstrate the elephant for you. The elephant is on page, oh there it is, page 29 of the packet, and it's our sign off. So as this is the last session that we have for this time, we're going to get everyone to unmute in a second and do it. But this is a good one for again, engaging and moving, focusing on the airstream as we go fast. Fast airstream as we go higher, and then supporting the airstream as we descend. So we have a rip up to the 10th note of the scale, and then we come back down in arpeggio. Really good exercise for good stability as you descend, and really, really good support. So I'm going to demonstrate it, and then it's going to get ugly. I mean, no, then it's going to sound amazing. Okay, are we ready? Okay, unmute, and I'll be. This is why I get paid so much money from the LA Phil, because I'm a great conductor. Not. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so great, but I honestly think you guys can do better. So we're going to go down a half step. 'Cause it's gonna be bad. That's great. You guys have been practicing. That is by far of all of these that we've done, that is by far the most accurate and high quality one that we've heard so far. So normally it sounds like a herd of wildebeest, and you know, we sort of achieved that, but they were very, very musical wildebeest this time. So that's great. Awesome. Well, great to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Check out the challenge. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for the challenge, April 11 to 15. We're going to do a lot of work in those sessions on giving you the template for basically being able to learn anything quickly, musically, as well as making sure that you're pairing your technique with the musical side with the mental side. So we hope to see you then. And if you want to set up a consult with us with Ripple, oh, fantastic. Yeah, if you want to set up a chat with us to talk about the summer program, we'd love to talk with you. Obviously, no obligation, and we're very happy to have a chat with you about your playing and how we can help move your playing, move your career forward by working with us at Invested Musician.
Yeah, I was also just going to say that we're only going to run this program this one time this year. So this is the only time to join if you're thinking about it. So if you're at all considering it, then just book a call with us so we can talk about it, but we won't be running it again until next year. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you for the challenge.